Are you starting up a brand new garden? Well, if you're starting up a brand new garden or just refreshing up an old one, preparing your garden space properly is the key to a thriving, healthy, and abundant harvest. So today I'm going to walk you through the essential steps from clearing up and conditioning your soil to laying out your garden beds so you can set your garden up for success. Welcome into the Wolfman Gardening Channel, where I show you tips, tricks, and advice on everything gardening. So the first thing you'll want to do is clear up space of any weeds, grass, or debris. Neglecting this step means you're inviting competition for those nutrients in the water. Start by hand pulling any of the large weeds and using a garden rake or a hoe to break up some of the top layer of the soil. Now, if you're dealing with those tough grassy patches, consider using a flat shovel to scrape the top of it, or you can even, for the first time, use a motorized tiller, which I usually do if I'm starting a new garden bed in a new spot. You can also consider covering the area with cardboard or plastic, like a real thick black plastic, for a few weeks to smother some of those weeds and some of that grass. Now, I know a lot of people that do no-till gardens, they use this method and do very well with it. You can also add these weeds to a compost bin if you have one. I would just avoid any of the weeds that have already gone to seed. The next step, it's time to get to know your soil. Healthy soil is a foundation of a thriving garden. It's the same as if you were building a house foundation. It's a key element in almost everything you build. And it won't be any different here because we are building a garden. You can use a simple soil test kit in order to check the pH and the nutrient levels of your soil. Most of your vegetables are going to prefer a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. So if your soil is too acidic, add lime. If it's too much alkaline, use a little bit of sulfur. Now is the perfect time to enrich your soil with compost, aged manure, or any type of organic matter. This will improve the drainage, water retention, and it will help keep that nutrient content. I'm not going to go into too much depth between sandy loam, clay soil, and silt at this time, but I will be doing a video on a mason jar testing your soil type, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you'll notify when that video comes out. I do have a video that I'll link up here that goes into a little bit of depth on what you can plant and what types of plants that love that clay soil, sandy loam, or any of that stuff. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out some of those videos. The next step is before you start planting, take a moment to map out your garden layout. Trust me, it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headaches later because there's nothing more aggravating than getting all your stuff planted in the garden just to realize you've run out of space or you've planted something next to something that you didn't want to plant it to. What I mean by that is to group plants with similar sunlight and water needs together. For example, you want to put your thirsty tomatoes and pepper plants in one section and put them next to drought-tolerant herbs like rosemary and thyme. Also, you want to think about the size of your plant at its mature height and size. So this is going to determine where you need to plant these as well. For instance, if you're going to plant your corn in front of smaller plants like your determinate tomatoes that only reach a certain height, that means when the corn reaches its mature height of over 6 foot, it may actually provide too much shade for your tomato plants or your pepper plants. So always keep in mind the mature size of your plants in order to avoid this. In a future video, I'm going to go over some of the best companion plants that you can plant together. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that video. I see this all the time and I've done it several times before, is when you're first planting these plants and they're really small, it looks like it's got a ton of space and you don't think about it. And then you get towards the end of the season and your corn's towering over at 6 foot tall and all these plants on the other side are not getting any sunlight and they're just not doing well at all. So always keep in mind the mature size of all these plants in order to help thrive and help these plants grow. And number 4, if you're going for the raised beds, now's the time to build them and also fill them. Raised beds offer a better drainage and soil control, but with great drainage, you're going to have to watch the soil in order to make sure that it doesn't dry out. So you want to make sure you fill your raised beds with a mixture of quality topsoil, compost, and a little bit of perlite and vermiculite in order for that aeration. Then you'll want to smooth over the soil surface and water it lightly in order to settle it before planting. So if you're going to be planting straight in the ground, depending on the pH test that we done earlier, it's still a good opportunity to add some of the compost, some manure, or some other stuff in order to make sure this soil has a good head start on the planting season. And last but not least, so don't forget about the water. Set up an irrigation system for planting. It's going to save you time and ensure even watering. You can get one of these irrigation systems at your local big box stores for a fraction of the cost of what you might think. You can skip this step if you're planning on doing some overhead watering. So anytime you do overhead watering, you're susceptible to more problems, which I'll cover in a future video about pest, mildew, and other diseases. Because of this, I always use a drip irrigation in my garden. So one good thing about the drip irrigation is drip irrigation reduces water waste for one, and it delivers moisture directly to the roots where it's needed the most. And finally, add a layer of mulch around your garden beds. It's going to keep that soil cool in the summertime when it reaches those high temperatures. It's going to help retain that moisture, and it's also going to help suppress those weeds. Plus, it makes your garden look really neat and polished. And there you have it. Your garden space is officially prepped and ready for planting. By taking the time to clear and enrich your garden soil and lay out your space properly, you're giving your plants the best possible start. So give this video a like if you found these tips helpful. And think about subscribing to the channel for more gardening tips. Don't forget to leave your comments down at the bottom and let me know your favorite garden style, whether it be raised beds or in-ground, or even if you're doing container gardens. Let me know in the comments what you're doing in your area. And like always, keep it growing.